And hello, good people of the internet. This is Tommy Kelly, and this is yet again the Tommy Kelly podcast. And unlike last week, where the podcast came out a day earlier due to stuff, this week it's going to be a day late. Well, it's going to be a day late if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, then it'll land on time, and please ignore everything I've just said. The reason why it is a day late and the reason why it was a day early last week is because I spent the weekend in London. And I will go into that in the full section of the podcast. You know that bit where I go, and now to the other bit, and there's music, and then it goes on to the other bit? Yeah, that bit. But before then, I just want to do a bit of the promotion-y type thing, I suppose, and just let you know that the Witch print is still on sale. And it should be arriving for people who've ordered it at this point now, although usually at this point people have told me that it has arrived, and as yet no one has. And stuff I've sent after some of the Witch prints have arrived. So I don't know, maybe it takes longer because it becomes parcel post rather than letter post or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, The Witch from the 40 Servants is now available as a limited edition, limited to 40 prints, signed and numbered by me and shipped to you. And the price includes worldwide shipping, and it comes rolled, securely sealed in one of those rolls, parcels, those circular tubes. A tube, that is the word I was looking for, a tube. So yeah, get on that if you're interested in that. Also, the Patreon is going along at full steam, so if you want to support all of this stuff I do, financially that is, you can do so by joining the Patreon and get any number of awards that are there. There are different tiers, different rewards. And part of that is the Journey, which is the shadow working year-long meditative course that we're doing. And other parts of that are PDFs of all my comics, the PDF of the 40 Servants Grimoire, which is the only place the PDF is available. It's available as a digital book on Amazon, but as part of their system rather than a PDF proper. All the comics, the digital download of the deck, the 40 Servants deck is available as one of the things. Check them out and see if that interests you. If you want to support what I'm doing without spending any money, which is just as valid and appreciated just as much, then please share, like, post about it, talk to your friends about it. Anyone people who you think would be interested, not just random people. If your mother is a serious Christian and only wants to know about Jesus, then don't send her my podcast, because it probably will not be for her. But if you have a friend who's into kind of chaos magic and art and photography and the stuff I'm into, then maybe, let them know that this could be a podcast that you're interested in, or the blog itself, adventuresinwoowoo.com, or even the deck itself. Tell people about it. There's a whole page on the 47 or on adventuresinwoowoo.com that allows people, gives them the resources to use the 47 system completely for free without spending any money, both for divination and magic. So you could spread that around. You could tell that to people. But like, share, comment, send me PM, send me email, send me all those things. Get the word out there, or just talk to me. It all helps, and I appreciate all of it. So now, let's get into the podcast proper. Cue up that music, future Tommy, who's doing the editing later on after I've recorded this. And let's get to London, baby. So, on last Thursday, we, myself and my wife, Vanessa, the wonderful, set out to go to London. Well, first we were going to go to Oxford because my brother-in-law and his new wife live there. He's actually a professor at Oxford. He's in the ornithology section, and he was recently part of the programme with Sir David Attenborough that's been shown in the BBC, and I haven't seen it yet, but as far as I know, at least his breath is shown in it as he blows on some feathers of some birds or something. But he was in a lot of the filming, and it's hard to know what it actually ends up in the final cut, but otherwise, all the same, still very cool. So we flew over, and I find, if you've listened to this podcast before, and I assume that for a lot of you, this isn't the first podcast you will come across, then you will know that last year for my 40th birthday, I went to Romania to see the relics of Saint Cyprian in Bucharest. And I talked about how stressful I find travel. And a lot of that was to do with, say, language and cultural differences. So London, I thought, well, it won't be that stressful. Besides, I'd been to London before. I've been to England a number of times, and been to Scotland, Wales, all that. So it's not that huge of a difference. And the culture between Ireland and the UK is obviously like ridiculously similar, apart from the bits that really aren't. But in general, it's not going to be wouldn't be that much of a culture shock. But lo and behold, Tommy found it amazingly stressful anyway. I think an awful lot of the stress of why I find traveling stressful is the constant go. It's go, 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 go. The whole thing where it's like people who go on these holidays and find them relaxing. I don't understand how you can go on a holiday and find it relaxing, because it's totally taking you out of your comfort zone, totally putting you in the hands of others, where you're relying on planes, trains, buses, all of these things, trying to get from here to there, and a thing you don't understand. And some people thrive in that. Obviously, Tommy's not the person that thrives in that. I just find it very stressful. It didn't help that when we arrived and we collected our tickets for the train, that the train had been cancelled that we were getting. We were going to go from Gatwick Airport, was what we flew into, to Reading, because that was close enough to Oxford for my brother-in-law. Excuse me while I drink some coffee. Could collect us. Actually, I'm on decaf coffee yet again, but I'll come back to that. He could collect us handy enough, or it was the cheapest. Yeah, I think it was the trains are so expensive, they're ridiculously expensive, which is so weird. So it was the cheapest place that was close to him, though, where he could come and collect us. But not only was the train cancelled, and it was cancelled because the driver rang in sick and there was no one to substitute, which I suppose, that's fair enough, what can you do? But Finesse had also told my brother-in-law the wrong time to collect us. So he was in Reading at the point we just got off the airport, and now we were going to be super late because the actual train had been cancelled. And Finesse had set it up, because she knows I get stressed around travelling, set it up that there would be no, we wouldn't have to make any, you get on the train, what's the word, where you have to get off and get on another train. That's the same thing that happens when you're in an airplane, whatever that word is that I can't remember. Connections, connected flights, connected trains, you didn't have to redo. So, but it turned out now, because of this being cancelled, that we would have to do this, and we'd have to go to a place called Red Hills, and we'd have to go to Reading and all that kind of thing. So already Tommy was less than happy about the whole thing, but I was trying to keep calm. Got a coffee, Finesse got a hot chocolate. It was lovely, it was amazing, all that kind of thing. So we got there anyway, and we got to Reading, and all was well. We got picked up and we travelled back to Oxford, and we had a lovely meal in a vegetarian restaurant in Oxford, and it was really nice. I had some sort of calzone, and but there was plenty of burgers and all this kind of stuff, and it was really nice. And I enjoyed it. Had a glass of red wine, as is my wont of an evening, and then brother-in-law asked me what did I want to do, did we want to go out, whatever. And I said, no, we just go back, chill out, plenty of time, because also it's just a Thursday night for them, and they have to work tomorrow. It's not like they're on holidays, they're just putting us up for the night. So we just went back, and I got another bottle of wine, and not another bottle, I got a bottle of wine. I had a glass of wine in the restaurant, and we just watched TV and chilled out. And there was a good game that my brother-in-law, I'll just call him Keith because his name's Keith rather than brother-in-law the whole time, plays with his wife, that they pick a year and then they search through whatever film or TV show app they were watching, and then you have to watch film from that year. So I picked 1998, and of course, unplanned, Rush Hour was the film that came out. So Rush Hour being one of my favourite films and my guilty pleasures. So we watched that. It was really good. It's very funny. It's very stupid. So Tommy was all cool and chilled. And then we watched the first episode of the new TV show, Young Offenders, which is based on a film about two lunatics in Cork, two Irish guys. And it's really funny, and genuinely, I laughed. I had one of those moments where, I was bent over laughing, unbeing able to control myself, because I was, because it was so funny. So check that out if you want to watch an Irish TV programme that was actually made in the UK. But it's set in Ireland. Same as Father Ted, which is, RTE, which is our national broadcaster here, passed on Father Ted, which is why it was done with Channel 4, which is a UK one. A TV show so synonymous with Ireland is a British TV show by all accounts. So then the next day we were travelling to London proper. And We had a long enough to travel, or at least it seems that way, or maybe we didn't. We had to hang around. That's what it was, hang around for a while in the train. But the actual train wasn't that long. And we were in London to meet up with friends of ours who we have met on and off over the years, who I met originally on the internet. I actually met him on the Mike Avon Oming message board, the Bendis board, years ago. And he's a comic artist, if you don't know comics. And so I met these guys, Sean and Mary, like it's over 10 years ago. And we met them when I went to New York. I actually met Sean the first night I was in New York, and then he was flying to Ireland like the next day. And so by the time I came home from New York, he was still in Ireland, and we met up in Ireland as well. So we did like kind of a tag team thing over the two areas. So then he came back a few years later and to hang out with us, him and Mary. And so we said they were coming back to London. So well, it's close enough. Let's meet up in London. So that night was really nice, and they had brought friends with us, and we ended up in the Sherlock Holmes Hotel, just talking rubbish and drinking and whatever. And it's tough for Vanessa because her being pregnant and stuff, like she's not, she was in a room by the end of it for a long night of drunken people when she wasn't obviously drinking or whatever. And I probably wasn't being the most aware of that and attentive. And so that put a bit of stress in on the end of the night because Vanessa was obviously not unhappy. That's unfair. But because she's a tripper, but like it wasn't nice of me to do it. And she told me that, which is fair enough and totally fair. So that it kind of put a damper on me because I felt bad about that. I felt like kind of, here we go. And I knew I had a lot to get done the next day. And so I wanted to get a lot of photography done and stuff like that. And it was rainy and it was bad, and which can be sometimes good for photography, but just when you're not in the mood and when you're stressed and when you feel like you're constantly going, like that's the whole thing. I felt like there was no minute's rest. Like that if you sat down, it's right, you're here for 20 minutes, then we're going to go here, then we're going to do this, and you're trying to get it all in and all that kind of thing. So we did get round on Saturday. Oh, yes, and we went to this museum, which makes me need to go back in time because I have skipped over a bit. When we were in Oxford before we left, we went to the Pitt Rivers Museum. Keith brought us to there, and it's a wonderful place, and you really should go. It is like full of really cool, interesting stuff from all around the world. Which halfway through, Keith pointed out, it's odd, like it's kind of wrong in it's that white people went to all these places, stole all this stuff, and took it back, and now it's in display in Oxford, which is probably that's all museums, I suppose. I assume, that's just the way in nature of it. And while it is kind of a bit odd and it's a bit kind of, when you think about it, that's how it is now. And I suppose you have to enjoy it as what it is. And hopefully now things are more in place. That it's not like that, that people can give and take, and museums probably do, less of the cultural robbing that they used to do. I know when I was in Venice, it was basically that's a city full of stuff stolen from other places. So... and it's gorgeous. So, I mean, there's still the aesthetic. You can appreciate it aesthetically rather than, maybe the terrible cultural consequences of it. And maybe it wasn't as bad as that. Maybe like a lot of this is given as gifts, whatever. But I just kind of jump immediately to something horrific happened for these Indian masks or these Japanese swords to end up, in Oxford. And, I would definitely side on it wasn't a happy, all of it didn't arrive happily. But anyway, it's a wonderful place, and the lights are quite low and it's quite subdued, and some really interesting. So I got some lovely photography. I got some interesting photography from there that I'll post up over the next while. So what reminded me of that was that we went to, on the Saturday, we were recommended this place by Joe Sims, who is an admin on CMG, who we then met later on. So while I was arranging this to meet up with her, she was saying, while you're in London, you really have to go see this place. And it is the Victor Wynd Museum of Curiosities and Witchcraft in Hackney. And it's in a kind of a pub which is called the Last Tuesday Society. So we walked there because I just didn't want to deal with Ubers and stuff. And also I like walking, and Vanessa likes walking, and it's a thing we do on holiday. But we were using Google Maps, and by the time we got to Hackney, Google had obviously decided that it wanted us to see the worst of the worst parts. So it was bringing us down this really dodgy alleys that had like loads of cans and drink and smells of piss, and you knew if this was like a few hours later, you shouldn't be here. Till eventually it got us to this like tunnel thing, and it was just like the smell was unreal, and it was really bad. It looked really terrible. And I just went, I'm not going there now. Thank you very much, Google. And so we tried to get back out on Main Street, which we did. And I don't understand why Google did that, because like it was as quick to get to this other way in a nice, and you see, London as it is, but maybe you should be exposed to these kind of less than desirable elements of humanity. But not when you're stressed, Tommy, and you just want to get to the place. When I went in anyway, I was it's one of those places where you don't know what it is, the rules, what's the protocol, whatever, and there's two guys at the bar, and one of them's been a smart arse and not been very welcoming, because I was asking, do you do coffee, whatever, and he goes, well, we're a cocktail bar, kind of this fucking bunch of thump you type face. Because I was going, well, I just want to see the stuff. Can I see the stuff? Without the attitude in my head. But what I actually said was, then another guy came up and asked, are you here for drinks? Are you here to see the museum? I said, oh, we're here for the museum. Thankfully, someone has spotted us. So when you go down into the museum in this place, it's so cramped, it's so tiny. And there was a lot of people there. By a lot of people there, I mean, there was probably 10 people there. But it's like not room for 10 people. And it was so warm, and I started sweating. I started getting very anxious, and I just, right, I'll just get it into the zone of just taking photos of these things and try and not get it. But there's people beside me who, like, they just literally wouldn't move. They were it felt like they were purposely going slower to make a point of, well, I'm not helping out. And they were, like, taking up too much room in this small place, so they wouldn't let anyone past. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that isn't the case, but that's how it felt. So it was kind of, while at the same time I was enjoying taking the photos, I was getting very stressed. I was feeling the temperature rise, and then of course the camera stopped focusing. Wasn't able to focus or whatever, because as we've spoken about before, or as I've spoken at you before, when I start getting stressed and things, I start affecting the things around me. Whether that's because I start using them wrong, or whether it's because some sort of woo-woo. I think it's definitely a mixture of both, if I'm being honest about it. And I can start, these things will start falling apart around me. Or at least I blame that for it. So I had to kind of compose myself and get myself together, and then everything was fine, and we went upstairs and we left. And it was all good. I definitely go and see that if that's kind of your interest again. I will post some photos from there. So we were going then to meet the great and wonderful Joe Sims. So we decided that rather than walk it, which it was like 4 or 5 miles, and we were running out of time because we had to get, our goal of the night was to get down to our friends. They're filmmakers, and they had a showing of one of their films in a cinema later that night. We kind of were aiming to try and get down to that first, or on time. And in the meantime, we were running a bit late. I also wanted to meet Joe. So we said, rather than walk it, we will get an Uber into Camden, which is where we were meeting him. So that was all fine, and it takes a while. I'm glad we didn't try to walk it, because it was half an hour in the car, never mind trying to walk in that thing. And Camden was just mental. It's so crowded. It's so not what I was expecting. I was thought it was like this big kind of hippie, cool kind of market, but it's just your standard terrible market in a sense. When you get into it actual proper, there's a kind of a building that has more of a crafty type element, but outside it's just the usual touristy t-shirts, pretend cannabis lollies and goodies, and loads of just touristy crap that no one wants. Lots of people arguing, lots of people shouting. There was roadworks, so half of the footpath was closed off, so there was lots of people being funneled down very small areas. And, I don't like leaving the office. I don't like leaving my house. So this is very intense for me. And it's just added to it. I did, however, get some wonderfully freshly squeezed orange juice, which was just amazing. We went into this nice kind of shop. It had lots of incense, and worry dolls and all that. So we bought some of those worry dolls. They're pretty cool. I also meant to say, going back again, while my memory is clear, and I got some of that Hell Notes or the Heaven banknotes when I was in Oxford in a Chinese shop. So I was delighted to get that. I will talk about them again later in a different podcast, possibly in what I'm going to do with them. But I definitely have a plan. Me actually talking about magic. Wow, what is going on? So we're in Camden and we have to meet Joe, and Joe's arriving at 4. So we go round and we meet in the place where we are to meet. And she arrives. Joe was wonderful. She's amazing. We had a great conversation. It was the first time I'd met her, even though I've known her online for a number of years now. I was an admin of CMG at one point. She was actually the person who asked me to be an admin, to officially ask me. I assumed it wasn't just her decision. I actually think it was Paul Knotts who put my name forward for that. Paul Knott, the great and wonderful wizard of South Africa. I was so delighted to meet Joe, and that was wonderful, and that was a highlight. So then it was back to rush. We had to get back to the hotel. We had to get to this place, and the place we were going to is the Cinema Museum, which is like totally the other end of London from where we were staying. We were staying in like Baker Street, and Camden's not that far from Baker Street, so we walked from Camden back to Baker Street through Regent's Park, which was lovely. We got to see the zoo, a bit of the zoo, and all that kind of thing. So when we got back, it was rush to get to the cinema thing. So we got another Uber. We got down there. We found it handy enough. We got in. It's an amazing place, and you definitely should check it out. It's something to do where Charlie Chaplin used to hang out. I didn't get the full story because I wasn't paying attention, just being honest. But it has loads of old cinema equipment, film projector cameras, all of that. And it's really well laid out and it's lovely. And to do this thing, I don't think it's always there, but to show people's films, in this club. It's Exploding Cinema, I think it's called. Links in the description. Where basically you can send them, as a filmmaker, you send them your film and then they show them. And if you can get to the place, you do like a Q&A afterwards, whatever. And there's a bar there. People are all obviously into this type of thing. And my friends, Sean and Mary, the Warped one, had one of their movies been shown, which was wonderful. So there was a number. I think we were only going to stay for the first half because our film was going to be shown in the first half because we were needed a time, away back and just to chill out or whatever. So there was a number of films. There were really good ones. There was one about a hand that if it was a guy who robbed an old woman's purse, and then there was a hand of this old pirate, and it was like a curse, and the only way that you could get it rid of the hand was like to have it stolen from you. That was really good. Enjoyed that. There's some really short ones about the creation of the universe. There was there was one about having a personal entourage. That was quite good, bit long maybe. And then Sean's one himself. Sean and Mary's one, which was really good. And I'm obviously a fan of Sean's, and I've seen all his movies. And I'm laughing because I was saying when I went into the cinema, I was talking to him, I says, have I seen this one? And he says, I'm pretty sure I forced you to watch all of my stuff at some point. But I must have seen it because some of it was, I was aware of some of that, and I hadn't seen it before, although I probably didn't see this cut of it. And this film is quite, excuse me, I'll have another coffee. Excuse me. Has a very David Lynch kind of influence, but he's all thinking, McManus, Sean, is big into Kubrick and a number of other people. So it's not just a one hit kind of, or a one themed kind of thing. It's really good. And I'll put links to all of this stuff in the description. Although I say this, and I've noticed that I don't usually do it, but no one ever calls me on it. I do try though, so but please, someone, if there is no links in the description, send me a strongly worded email or shake your fist at me and video it and send it to me if I don't do it. So at halftime we left. There was a woman getting up on stage talking, that it was like doing an art piece or whatever, and she had a flag around her and she was going, "Is this a flag? Or is it a burqa?" And I've just gone, no, I can't. I can't do this. I'm sure it's wonderful performance art. I just don't get it. So it's not for me. So we went home. By home, I mean, went back to the hotel. And I watched half of The Bourne Identity and we went to sleep. And the next day was going to the airport. Although we did have some time and we went round to, got some nice breakfast and we walked around for a bit. I'm probably skipping loads of this when I'm finished recording. Go, oh yeah, I meant to say that. But anyway, I'm sure you don't want the exact blow-by-blow account of my London trip. It's all building basically to the airport and the incident. Tommy had an incident at the airport. Again, we were going through trains, and we went to, where did we go to get the train? Victoria Station, and the Gatwick train, and it was kind of an issue. We were in the wrong place. Then there was, because we thought we were getting the Gatwick Express, which we weren't. Then there was another area we had to get through, and we were waiting in one, and we noticed, no, that's not our train, and then we had to get onto another train, and all this stuff. And at this point, I just have to be honest, I was like stupid stressed, really anxious, and probably an absolute and utter nightmare to be around. So Vanessa is a saint. If you ever meet Vanessa, she's a saint. She really is. But we got to the airport and you get off the train and you're kind of straight into the airport and you're into security and all that kind of thing. And I'm into the security area, you have to take your belt off and thing and all. And I was totally flustered and I started getting tunnel vision and everything started coming in on me. And it's like, you basically, if I had my hands touching my ears, I wouldn't have been able to see my hands, like my finger, what's the better, or even at the side of my head, it had like come into a very, very focused area around me. And that disassociation where you feel it's a dream. And I was putting my stuff into the trays and I put my bag on it and your man says, no, you have to put that in a tray. And I put that on. And while I was putting that in the tray, he had taken my other stuff, but I wasn't finished. And I just got all flustered and I didn't know what was going on really, to be honest. It's all very hazy. And then I went through the metal detector thing, whatever. And obviously he went off. And the guy who came up to me, and I have to say, he was super friendly, super calm, super nice, good guy. God knows what had happened if he had been an arsehole, given my state. And so he made me put my shoes through the smaller kind of x-ray thing, and then he did the hand patting down, and then he did the metal detector over me. And what it was in the end is, because I hadn't even taken off my rings or any of that thing, is I had coins in my pocket. And I've just kept saying to him, I'm so sorry, I'm just so sorry, I'm so sorry. And he's like, it's fine, it's okay, it's okay. And whatever. So then I went up to collect my stuff, and Vanessa obviously had noticed that I wasn't doing well or whatever. And she was grabbing stuff and bringing it over to the table. And then I got like this hit of emotion. I was like it's not a panic attack, but something along those things. I just got so emotional and I just started crying. And it was just too much. And it just come to the end. I was just like, oh my God. And I'm standing in the middle of a fucking security checkpoint in an airport having some sort of emotional breakdown. It was so horrible. It was like really horrible. And Vanessa just there beside me, just hugging me and going, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's fine. And yeah, so I was just trying to, I couldn't see, I couldn't hear, I couldn't, my heart was beating really fast, and I just, it was just too much. All of it had just been too much for me. Which is, when one part of me, that's so pathetic. What happened? You weren't in a war. Nothing bad actually had happened, but it's just all of it building up to stuff that been. It's not just London. Loads of stuff over the last while has just been building to this kind of moment. So I just went into the toilets, whatever, and I just kind of sat there and I just started crying, and it was all this kind of release, and it was tough. It was weird. was so weird. So I spent a couple of minutes. When I came out, there was like kids running, and one kid ran into me, and then there was other people who just kept walking in front of me. And I just tried to go around as normal as possible, just trying to be normal and, into like shopping, but it was so hectic or whatever. But I just went along my way, and it eventually just kind of passed, and I was okay. But I was still shocked by it. And obviously, by the sound of my voice now, I'm still a bit shocked by it. But to have that kind of no control over yourself, or just where the entire, it just felt like I was drowning. And I've had this experience recently where I just felt things are just a bit too much going on. That as soon as one thing happens, there's five more things you have to deal with. And then you get those five things, and then here's another five things. It's like there was no break, there's no let up, there was no kind of moment of like, even when I was sitting and say watching the film, whatever, it's still at the back of my mind. I have this to do, this has to be done, this is to done, and it's like a constant as if there's a drill sergeant at me the whole time, kind of going, yeah, do this, and that's the way life has been for me at the last while, like, and it's it's tough when stupid things seem as important or have to be done as much as the big things, where it's like, I have to have this, I must wash this cup, is the same intensity as I have to, I have to sort out my life, or I have to, have to get on this flight to London, is the same kind of intensity as walking into a shop and asking for a coffee, or doing anything is just this almighty full task. And I spoke about this before on a podcast, but I ended up taking it down for 1,000,001 reasons that I can't go into at this time, because I just can't. But it's just a problem I have, that I can find. It's a social anxiety thing of, sometimes I am the most confident person in the world. To the point of that I'm too confident, too egotistical, maybe, or pushed too hard. But it kind of feels like sometimes I know I'm doing that as an act. And I can do that in social situations where I can be the center of attention, but it drains the fucking hell out of me to do it. But in the moment, I'm okay with it. But sometimes I'm just okay. I'm just naturally okay, and I can be confident, and I can be, hey, I can do whatever I want, and I can, do things that, people wouldn't do because they wouldn't have the confidence to do. Like, I was a musician, for God's sake, for years. So I've been on stage solo. I've played at festivals, played big things. And sometimes I find it immensely anxious and stress to go into a Costa or a Starbucks and ask for a coffee. And it's too much. So I think it's kind of whatever that is the thing that finally came to the head in the airport, where it was all just too much, all too much. But here's the thing. Here, like, I'm taking life way too seriously. And when you start doing shadow work, and when you start looking at these things and looking at yourself, it's going to be way more intense. So, as Robbie has pointed out to me a number of times, this is what you asked for. So I can't complain about this. I can find it hard and I can talk about it, but this is what the whole point of when I said I'm going to look at my shadow stuff and look at the journey, this thing we're doing. This is the stuff that is going to come to a point and start really getting in my face, to the point of, you can't do this anymore. Look at what this is doing. And this is having a serious effect on my relationships, my marriage, and all this, because I've become too serious and too intense, where everything is the same level of intensity constantly. And I am going to crack if I continue like that. So I have to look at that, and I have to start doing that. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm giving up coffee again, because I don't take my own advice enough and one of that things, 5 things that'll improve your life. Tommy doesn't do one of them. And that's caffeine just is too much. It's hard to know the difference between being high on caffeine and whether you're genuinely anxious. So that has to go. Bang, that's gone. Because it's not worth it. It's not, what is it doing? It's fueling anxiety rather than being productive. I'm going to start taking my 5-HTP again, because that really helped me in different times before. And again, it's one of those things where I go, well, why did I stop doing that? I think I stopped doing because you're not, I don't want to be reliant on these things, or it suggests that you shouldn't take it the whole time. But maybe I should be taking it the whole time, because and if it's a placebo, it's a placebo. Let's not worry about any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. If it works, it works. So I'm back on that. I'm still taking my CBD oil. I've ordered a higher percentage one. The one I was on was 5%, and now this one I'm getting is 10%. So because someone told me that the one I had wasn't worth shit. I'm like, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, and I know no matter what, there's always going to be someone telling you that there's a better thing as well. So I'm aware of that. But I need to relax, and I need to chill, and I need to pull back from taking life so seriously. Stuart Wilde talks about one of the big spiritual diseases is seriousness, and having to take things seriously, and being serious, or needing to be serious or whatever. And that's something that's definitely has been pinpointed and pushed to me and brought to the fore and been highlighted, and a huge big light is shining on this, on my stress levels, my anxiety, how I'm dealing with life, how I'm approaching life, how that is impacting relationships, how it's impacting me by not wanting to do anything because it's just too stressful to do any of these kind of things. And then the worst is, some days I'm fine and I'm super chill and I'm super cool, but those days are less and less these days. I certainly couldn't tell you the last day I was super cool and chill. It's been a while, and I assume that there's the background hum of, you're going to be a dad, I'm sure that's not something that's has to go unnoticed or unnoted. So this has to be sorted now, because it's not going to get less stressful, I mean, I found that my life was so stressed until I had a child, and then that stress just all just floated away down the river. Yeah, I don't think that's how it works. In fact, I know it's how it works. I've had a couple of people coming up to me and go, the first 3 weeks, or another one was the first 6 weeks, you're just going to not know what hit you, and it's going to be awful, but just know in the back of your mind, and remember this, that it gets better, or whatever. So, yeah, if Tommy can't handle going on holiday and finding that stressful, I have to find ways and means of how I'm going to approach the rest of my life, because it's not going to get any less stressful. And the only thing that is going to be able to change about it is that I have to change about it. But as we know, this is what I wanted. This is the Biffy Clyro song too. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted to be. This is what you wanted. And it is. This is the type of thing that I wanted from the journey. I wanted to shine the big fucking torch on my assholeness and my problems and my negativity and things that I need to sort out. And yeah, smacks you right in the face. That's life though. And this is, when people say to me, do you don't really do magic or whatever. People don't really say that. I say that about myself more than people say it to me, but I know it's a thing. But I'll tell you, you want to know real magic, go hang out with your shadow self for a while and see what happens, and see the intensity of how that, when you look at it and when you try to sort that out, just see how tough. It'll show you how tough you are. And you're not tough. If you're anything like me, you're not tough. But we'll get there. And great lesson. Great pattern to see. And there's no going back once you see these things. Unless, you regress and you decide that you're going to run away from it. I don't want to run away from this. I want to sort this. I want to become better. I want to become more. I want to become wider, stronger, bigger, faster, more awesome, more chilled, and less serious. Because I think that's possibly the thing that will end up killing me if I don't sort it out. So, London, baby. Yeah. So yes, good people of the internet, that was this episode of the Tommy Kelly podcast. And if you like this kind of rambly thing, whatever it is, then you can now go to tommykellypodcast.com and see all the episodes. And I spell my name with an IE because I am awkward. So it's Tommie, Kelly, standard spelling with a Y. Podcast, I hope you can spell podcast, but if not, it's podcast and .com. If you just press Control and Enter on your keyboard, it will put that in for you. Unless, of course, you're on a phone, and then it won't do that. So, yes, there's loads of places that you can get the podcast. It's on most podcatchers, and if it's not on the one you like, then please let me know and I'll try and sort that out for you. Now, the hub of what I do is in adventuresinwoowoo.com, where you'll find my art, my photography, the podcast, all you could possibly want to know about the 40 Servants, which is a divination and magic... Oh, excuse my ignorance. It's a divination and magic system that I developed and released in 2016, and it's been going strong. There's a big Facebook group about it. If you search for the 40 Servants on Facebook, you will find it. There's the Adventures in Woowoo Facebook page as well, which is getting up to close to 20,000 likes at this stage, which is amazing. I'm so honoured. My artist page is on Facebook as well, which is Tommy Kelly Artist. I'm on Twitter at Tommy Kelly, on Instagram at Tommy Kelly, on 500px at Tommy Kelly, on Flickr at Tommy Kelly, and I assume loads of other places I also put in at Tommy Kelly just to park my space. So, good people of the internet, for my blessing to you this week, I would like you to become more aware of who you are and the stuff that you find hard, and be able to see it, understand it, move forward and get past it. May all the things that hold you back no longer hold you back. May it be the stepping stone or a ladder towards a greater version of you, where all of these things no longer stifle your creativity, your day-to-day life, your joy, your happiness, your relationships, your outlook, and life in general. May you have a wonderful, wonderful week. May you all be well. May all be well, and may all manner of things be well. Good people of the internet, be